How does one begin why you would bother riding a motorcycle 5,800 kilometers across Canada? Well, the story really begins in May of 2021. It was COVID. You remember that. Things were different, you know? So my wife and I moved from Chilliwack, British Columbia to the Moncton, New Brunswick area where we live now and have lived since May of 2021. And I had not yet been back to British Columbia since then. And when we drove across, I loved it. It was great. We were in a super rush because of circumstances, but I just had such an awesome time driving it. And ever since I got to New Brunswick, I've really wanted to drive back across. Not only to see my family back in BC, but also because it was just such an awesome drive. And there was a lot of limiting factors, but having all of our stuff and our animals and time constraints that forced us to make the drive very quickly when we came out here. But I just really wanted to drive back across. So I've been planning on this. I've been wanting to do this. You know, I did the New Brunswick Four Corners ride in March of March 2025, and then having done that, which was a two-nighter, I wanted to do it. I wanted to drive across Canada. So that's what I did. I planned it out. I made a huge list of gas stations the whole way across Canada. Some obscene number, 300 gas stations, something like that, because I'm riding a 1998 V-Star 650 and only gets about 240 kilometers to the tank. So gas stations matter. And I made a list of all the rest stops the whole way across Canada, because kind of like when I drove, you know, to move here, we didn't plan out where we're stopping for the night because we were in a hurry. We had to go. So we were just going as far as possible every day, which isn't what I want to do with this trip. I was not signing up for a sufferfest, but I did want to do it in 9 days or less. Just so, because I took 2 weeks off, and I had 2 weeks drive the motorcycle out to BC, sell it, and then fly back to New Brunswick, you know, to be within a 2-week vacation time. So anyway, I designed this trip, of course, without really deciding where to stay, what nights, you know. I was kind of rolling with it as I went. And so I actually ended up leaving half a day early. I was gonna leave on Sunday. I left work early on Saturday and left for my trip early. So right out of the gate, day one, I was already, you know, off plan. So originally my plan was I was going to stop about halfway through Quebec. Nothing against Quebec. Well, something against Quebec. I didn't want to sleep the night in Quebec because Quebec has a bit of a reputation. So I wanted to sleep in New Brunswick, and then I wanted to sleep in Ontario. But for the most part, I wanted to avoid sleeping in Quebec. So for the first day, I went from out of Moncton out to Chilliwack Ridge so I could get that sweet Atlantic water. And yes, the Northumberland Strait is the Atlantic. I'm not going to argue with you about it. It's just the truth. Northumberland Strait is the Atlantic. So I went to the Atlantic Ocean and then set out to the Pacific. The first day, half day, Chilliwack Bridge to Lac Baker, New Brunswick. Now, it was pretty sick. It was an absolutely stunner of a day, beautiful day, and everything was going really well. When I left on my trip, the V-Star 650, it has 1-inch handlebars, so it's a little bit thicker than a regular handlebar, and it had this really thick grip, and I always hated that stupid grip, and so I took off. Oh my goodness! So I took off, and then I was like an hour and a half away from home, coming towards Fredericton. Thought, no, today's the day. I'm going to do something about this stupid grip. So I stopped off at the Canadian Tire, because where else would you stop? And bought myself some hockey grip tape, because what else would you use? And wrapped that around my grip, which honestly made a ridiculous difference. And then took off from there. The entire area, the St. John River Valley, all around Fredericton, immaculate, just wonderful stuff. And then, of course, got to see the biggest axe in the world, because obviously, dude, I'm gonna go see the biggest acts. And then past that, Grand Falls, which is just a lovely place. I've been to the area before, but I had never actually stopped off in Grand Falls to see them. And dude, totally worth it, you know? I mean, I've been to Niagara Falls, objectively better, but Grand Falls, really sick. And, you know, just once I got up there for once I finally made it to my campsite, a not planned one. Once I made it up to the campsite, got settled in. You know, there was it's a lake, so you can hear literally everything that goes on. Also in Lac-Baker, it's one of Canada's busiest railways. So on the other side of the lake from where I was sleeping is one of the busiest railways in Canada, because all of Eastern Canada's shipping goes through that spot. So, you know, every whatever half hour, something like that, chugga chugga chugga. But it was cool. Trains were really a recurring theme on this trip. I've never really had much of an appreciation for trains. I'm not a train spotter by any means, but I just really love seeing so many trains driving across the country. And this was just a really killer start to the trip. I had such an awesome time. I was ahead of schedule, and then because I was ahead of schedule, I got to see a friend of mine in Ottawa the next day, and just had such an awesome time visiting with him and getting to see a little bit more of Ottawa, because I drove through there when we moved here, and we were in just such a hurry, so I didn't get to see much of it. But oh man, it was such a great trip. So yeah, I think we're just gonna make one video for one day. All the videos probably gonna be, I don't know. It took since August to get around to editing this one. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it now. I finally got all the footage sorted out, which was a real, 4 cameras. Yeah, but everything's all sorted now, and it's ready to get edited, and I'm just so stoked about it. This was so much fun. This was such a fun trip. Thanks for coming along.